You're listening to The Review on the OSG Sports Podcasting Network.
Welcome to another round of The Review, the OSG Sports College Football Show. Marty there and at OSG SW, otherwise known as the home of the undefeated UT Dallas football program, as he is repping on the video version. Still undefeated, your UT Dallas. And I have gone to a team that was functioning in the professional ranks when I was a mere child. The 1926, I believe, professional football champions, your Frankfurt Yellow Jackets.
Not to be confused with the Frankfurt Galaxy.
No.
NFL Europe.
No, but hey, I probably have a jersey somewhere, and I do have a Marcus. I do have a Marcus Hahnemann T-shirt. Trust me, Mike Perez and Marcus Hahnemann. I have my Marcus Hahnemann T-shirt. It is around here in the stack somewhere. We're here to talk college football. I know that shocks all of you. Otherwise, it wouldn't be known as the College Football Review. First block, we're kind of spread to the four winds this week. Brother Phil has decided to call vacation this week. And so he will be joining us from New Mexico. Do they do the hula in New Mexico, Marty?
Not sure.
They do now, I
think.
But
that is my universal hand sign for vacation.
Yes. So he'll be joining us remotely from New Mexico coming up at the end of this segment and at the beginning of the next segment, because as we do it, we go backward and then we go forward. And we always end on football on a budget. Marty,
I'm hoping he stops at one of the many rest areas in New Mexico that has Wi-Fi.
Ooh.
And joins the pod. So I'm holding out hope for that.
That would be the way to join. So it is a look back at the craziness of this past week. It's either week 4 or week 5, depending on your perspective. If you start with week 0 or week 1, depending on what your numbers are. We'll go through all the big games here, go through some of the other games. And then coming up, we'll do the week that will be and go over things, and we'll see how completely and totally wrong we can be with our selections. So I know that
Don't forget.
Yes, that's true. That's the cup. Yeah, football on a budget. I was wondering what cup you had brought in this week. So are you going to stick with the same cup every week?
I'm sticking with that till Ohio State loses.
Okay, there you go. I understand. I get that completely. That you got to go with ritual. I'm not saying superstition. It is ritual because it went the first time. It will continue. Therefore, it is a ritual. It is not a superstition. All right.
It spills over into jersey selection on game day.
Yes. All right. So apparently, Marcus Freeman thought it was wise for the last 2 plays of a game in which he was leading to go ahead and give the competition a competitive advantage. And what I mean by that is apparently for the last 2 plays of the game up against Ohio State that he had a lead, and then after those 2 plays, subsequently he did not, and then they lose to Ohio State. They had 10 players on the field.
See, I wasn't aware that it was the last 2 plays. I knew it was the last play, and that's first and foremost, that's on the coach, but also the deep safety is supposed to count. But that also goes back to coaching.
Yeah, here's the explanation. And someone had the photo up about it being the last 2 plays. To your point, Marty, yes, the last play did have 10. Marcus Freeman said, this is from Heather Dinich over at the 4-letter. He was trying to get a 4th defensive lineman on the field for the final play of the game in the loss to Ohio State, but didn't want to draw a penalty, so he stuck with 10 defenders on the play that allowed the winning touchdown. OSU had the ball on the 1-yard line. Chip Tranum ran up the middle, scored the winner with a second to go. Freeman, a former linebacker, was asked after the game if he should have taken the penalty and tried to get the 11th defender onto the field. Quote, to me, it was like, hey, don't give him another opportunity to get settled and try to make a different call, right? Hey, guys, stay off. And he didn't have any timeouts. Hey, guys, stay off the field. Let's not give him a freebie from the half-yard line. Let's try to stop him. And I thought maybe that they would do the same thing. They did the snap before, and they ended up running the ball, so I got to watch the play and see where the ball hit. But, yeah, that's why I made the decision.
Fake injury isn't a thing anymore?
I don't know. I mean, you would have thought perhaps, sit there and slow the game down and get everything squared away. And safety Thomas Harper, to your point, quote, everything was going fast. I'm trying to do my job, get the call. That's something we've got to do better. We can't be down in that situation. We got to do better, players and coaches. We're going to learn from it and grow, end quote. For a minute there, I thought you were actually going to manufacture a sad trombone with the moving of a chair.
I thought about it, and I might do it in post. I also might do Rodney Dangerfield with the fake injury.
Yeah. Oh, my arm.
My sciatic.
Al Chervik. It's like Al Chervik on the start of the back nine. That's what you needed to do at the 1 yard line.
Yeah, that's inexcusable. You take the penalty. You don't give a freebie.
I mean,
he didn't know.
I'm
calling shenanigans on that.
Okay. Yeah, that is your.
I would say BS normally, but since it's the Irish, I'm calling shenanigans.
Yes. Yeah, you're calling.
Also, just for our Irish fans out there, Rudy was offsides.
in the Tech game. Sean Astin was offside too, but you didn't see it in the movie. You wanted to bring up the post-game discussion after this win.
Yeah, normally I'm not for calling out somebody that's using a walker. But Lou Holtz had a lot to say about the toughness of teenagers. And after the game, for those, after I picked myself back up off the floor of my house, and it's a good thing my wife wasn't there because I was using some colorful language and I was looking very distraught up until that last play. And then I was confused about why there was a miraculous additional second. My life as a Browns fan started creeping in and anxiety started taking over. But Ryan Day called out Lou Holtz by name for calling his kids soft. Not in those exact words. He just said Notre Dame is much more physical and questioned the toughness of that team. And I think this game is going to go huge to helping Kyle McCord mature. And hopefully those two tackles, I mean, they haven't gone a week without Simmons getting a penalty and doing something crazy, but hopefully this gets them to gel a little better. And I hope that this version of Ryan Day, as an Ohio State fan, I'm admitted I'm as big of a homer for Ohio State as the announcers were homers for Notre Dame, since those are the only games they call every week. I want to see that fired up Ryan Day coming back every week. He talked that talk before the game, but after the game, you really saw the passion and how much he cares about those players. And to be honest, they're college kids. Give them a break. Don't question them as that. They're athletes. They're learning.
You know what? Through the magic of videotape, here's that post.
Number 2, Notre Dame is a better football team than Ohio State.
Love hearing that. Please,
Coach. And let me tell you why. We have the best offensive line in the country. Sam Hartman won't even get his dirty all year. He has time to throw the football. The offensive line, we have great running backs. Esteem is averaging about 10 yards a carry. We have great receivers. So offensively, we're set. Defensively, our defensive line's better. And you look at Coach Day, and I coached at Ohio State under Woody Hayes. We won the national championship when I was there.
That's right.
So I'm proud of that. However, he has lost to Alabama, Georgia,
right.
Clemson, Michigan twice, and everybody that beats him does so because they're more physical than Ohio State. And I think Notre Dame will take that same approach.
I'd like to know where Lou Holtz is right now. What he said about our team, I cannot believe. This is a tough team right here. We're proud to be from Ohio, and it's always been Ohio against the world, and it'll continue to be Ohio against the world. But I'll tell you what, I love those kids, and we got a tough team.
But Ryan Day, that was a big win for, and I thought it was going to come down to a Sam Hartman mistake. I legitimately thought that because of him not being in these environments in the ACC, that it was going to be something where you're like, I don't know.
Are you saying there's no high stakes ACC games?
Well, there are, and we will get into that because I was pulling what was left of my hair out with a particular game. But I wanted to let me grab the stats real quick when it comes to Sam Hartman and his first 17 to 25, 175 and 1. And
he was solid, and they kept him clean.
Okay. And
I didn't know Ken Stabler had any more college eligibility left.
True. Oh, so was the hair like flowing out the back?
The beard.
Oh wow.
I was looking for gray in it.
Yeah.
I didn't see him smoking on the sideline, so I guess that wasn't him then.
50-50.
I had family members and friends actually making other comments of what he looked like, and it involved the 70s and alternate cinema.
Okay. Oh, wow.
And once I got that text, I got it from 3 other people. So I'm like, all right, if 2 people say it, and it's on the internet.
It must be true. 50-50 offensive output for Notre Dame, 176 on the ground, 175 in the air. Kyle McCord on the day, 21 of 37 for 240. And rushing, Trevion Henderson ran for 104. Other than that, it was 22 yards rushing from 4 other rushers. So it was definitely the game that where if you took the under, you were a genius in this particular platform. But big.
I honestly didn't. I thought that was going to be higher scoring.
I know I did too.
I really did.
Legitimately, I'm right there with you. And so you end up with a total of 31, which was nowhere close to what we thought it was going to be. The other
I was expecting at least that much per team.
Yeah, I was too. The other story, the other big story, before we get into the rest of the top 25 and other games that we think matter. Obviously, we talked about it, and it has been our lead story, but it is something that we look at from a different perspective. What we try to do here, in addition to fandom and analysis, is try to be somewhat analytical and give context into situations.
I like to be emotional.
Darn that journalistic background that we have here on the network. But we had said coming into this weekend about the University of Colorado that great start. The TCU game, I think, surprised a lot of folks. Probably lent rationale that, okay, TCU did graduate a lot of folks and Colorado jumped on them early.
Irrational rationale.
True. and so 3-0 out of the blocks. You lose Travis Hunter in your rivalry game against Colorado State. He's out for the next 3 games, which included the Saturday game against Oregon. It will include next week's game against USC, and then the third one in that sequence. We all here at the network figured 3-0 was going to turn into 3-2, that Colorado was going to come back to the mean. We would have a better gauge as to who they are and what they need to learn going forward. We saw that at Autzen Stadium, Marty, 42-6, and it was over at halftime.
It might have been over a little bit before that. It's good to see them come back to earth because now those kids can have some semblance of order and, normal practice without all the crazy hype to it's a lot of young kids and they have that kind of pressure hitting down on them while they're still learning they might not even know their way around campus yet because they're all kind of new there. So let them get a little bit more of a real life and let the talking heads stop saying he's ready for the NFL after 3 games. Just insanity.
Quoting Dion after the game, "We played like hot garbage, good old-fashioned butt kicking, no excuses."
I did like him owning it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing.
But then he immediately got cocky right after that.
518 total yards allowed, 284 and 234, failing to gain 200 overall. And once again, no Travis Hunter. And in this one, Dan Lanning, you talk about Ryan Day. Let's talk about Dan Lanning for a second. The pregame speech that Dan Lanning gave,
that he made sure got recorded.
Correct. What is it? We don't go for clicks. We go for, and I'm trying to reconstruct this. We don't go for clicks. We go for wins. This game is not being played in Hollywood. It's being played on this turf. So Dan Lanning says these things. It's not about social media, but as you said, his message was recorded. Just saying. I enjoy the idea of, okay, you're going to give a fiery speech about the team that you're playing and say that it is not just one of these elements, it's this element. I would sit here
while using the platform of that element.
So, once again, as we give context to these situations, Mr. Lanning, sir, if you had given that speech and it had not been recorded, I might give more credence to your perspective. But obviously, no. Big win for them. A big win for Oregon, not necessarily a surprise. You and I were sitting here and saying as a part of the deal, 21, take the 21. It may not be that close. It was not. It was 35-0 at the break, and it literally was a showcase. You end up with Bo Nix throwing for 276, 3-1. Your piece of trivia, defensive coordinator for Colorado, Charles Kelly, played with Bo's father, Patrick, dating back to their early days. And so you have all of these weave-ins when it comes to Deep South football. And this game played at Autzen Stadium in Eugene, Oregon was no different. But a big win for number 10 Oregon, not necessarily a surprise here. And just be careful what you wish for when it comes to social media and saying things and not being recorded.
My brother Monty has now moved Oregon up to one of his secondary teams after them going for it on 4th down.
Okay.
I just had to give my brother a shout out because he gained new respect for the Oregon Ducks. And the last time he and I saw Oregon, that was at Jerry World.
Yes.
As the only two Ohio State fans in a completely Oregon section because we were smart enough to abuse their ticket office.
Yeah, well, yeah. And you ended up getting to watch them, and nothing wrong with abusing the ticket office and getting into that section.
Now, did you see the pregame for that?
No, I did not.
That might be the title of this episode. Don't lose your head.
Okay.
The Oregon Duck came out wearing a cowboy hat and high-priced sunglasses. And in the end zone, there was a large box that was a clock, and it said Prime on the side. He proceeded to try to smash it with a bat or a stick, and his head fell off. And he proceeded to run back in the tunnel, and then another student picked up the head and followed him.
Well, it's like now aren't you like disowned or banned from being a
you can't break character.
A mascot? If something goes wrong with your costume, then
now, enough time has passed. I had on occasion been Pete the Penguin in a rare having to fill in a role situation, which would make for an unusually tall Pete the Penguin, being 6'3" myself.
Yeah.
I think I can break the rule now that it's been more than 20 to 30 years since I had one on.
Yeah, I think that limitation can go on that one.
We'll have to see, and I think they're going to get a little bit more Velcro for next game.
That's the key. Other top 25s that we will go blowing through. Georgia, no problem with UAB. Trent Dilfer's now 1-3, not necessarily a surprise. Kirby Smart does not care what you think about spreads. He's got stuff he's got to work on getting ready for the SEC schedule.
Controlled scrimmage.
The spread was 40. He won by 28, and he doesn't care. He doesn't care what you think. Michigan only put 31 on the board, beating Rutgers.
That was close throughout the game, too. The Michigan, going back to last week's team, they stopped playing with their food and turned it on in the second half.
7-7 after one. Texas had a big first half, beat Baylor. Baylor's now 1-3. Florida State and Clemson, the game that caused me quite a lot of angst and consternation. Yeah, it ended up going to free football. Florida State got the Duke in that one, 31-24. Dabo Swinney now 0-2 in the ACC. Oops.
I'll go back to Ohio State broke Dabo.
Yeah. I
couldn't happen to a nicer guy.
You've got to. I mean, I know that there are folks that are stuck in their ways when it comes to how they want to do things, and that you don't want to work your way through. But when you've got Islands High School's Kalen DeLoach delivering hits like he did in that game, and Jordan Travis, come from behind win for Florida State. They were a 1.5 2-point dog, got the win on the road. Big win for them. They're now 4-0 at number 4.
Now, when you watch the game, did you see that graphic of they had both coaches standing outside of the transfer portal club, and they showed all the people that that Florida State allowed in, and then they showed Dabo with his hand out saying no admittance.
So basically, he was the bouncer at the club.
Yeah,
his version of the club, and he got bounced. Yeah, they're now 2-2, 0-2 in the ACC.
Silver lining, they are undefeated out of the ACC.
That is absolutely true. So maybe they should leave the conference.
See, I'm not just being negative on them.
No, absolutely. USC, no problems with Arizona State winning by 14. The Brian Ferentz points watch continues in earnest. after being shut out by the team to your east, 31-0. Penn State's now 4-0. And
that whiteout's no joke.
No, it is not. Washington, Michael Penix went for 304-4, beat Cal 59-32. Cal's just not very good. Utah without, just once again controlled. Utah 4-0, knocked off UCLA at Rice Eccles 14-7. LSU, and I think a lot of folks knew this was coming. When Arkansas and LSU are competitive late, and this was probably one of the games of the day, you end up with passing numbers. Jaden Daniels, 20 of 29 for 324 and 1. KJ Jefferson, 289 yards passing, 3 and 2. And you end up with you end up with a game right there at the end, and you end up with a lot of folks are sitting there going, man, you wished it was going to happen, but it ends up LSU winning 34-31 in a game that had a 25-point fourth quarter, by the way.
That is insane. I didn't expect it to be that close, to be honest. I thought LSU was going to just run away with it.
Especially with how Arkansas seems to be, if you ask Brother Wilkie, managing KJ Jefferson. Alabama cruised. I mean, it was not that difficult. Jackson Dart threw for 244, but nothing in the end zone. Alabama beats Ole Miss by the score of 24-10. The Tupac had probably the game of the day, at least out west. Washington State comes back to win 38-35 against Oregon State. Oregon State was ranked at 14 at 3-1. Washington State 4-0 at 21. Game of the day for the Tupac. Now, if only the rest of the conference would behave like that.
I was kind of wondering if they were going to do a kumbaya tie.
Yeah, well, but then they'd still be playing, wouldn't they?
And this is going to be a whole nother podcast for us, but the discussion that the presidents of the universities brought up with a relegation model involving the Mountain West and some teams to be named later has really, really piqued my interest. But that subject by itself would be a whole nother podcast or even a series podcast.
Yeah. Then you also have Oklahoma uninspired beating Cincinnati 26. North Carolina with a win over Pitt. Duke 4-0, number 18 on the planet. 7 over UConn, same score. Miami over Temple. Tennessee, no problems with Texas San Antonio. Florida beat Charlotte. That's who they are these days. They're no longer UNC Charlotte. They are the Charlotte 49ers. Florida only put up 22 in beating Charlotte. Ricky Pearsall had an amazing grab. If you haven't seen it, that's probably the grab of the weekend. The boss is upset. Boy, is she upset with what happened in College Station. The quitter, as I refer to him, got the win. They're now 3-1. Auburn is also 3-1. Texas A&M won 27-10. I want to know how the head coach of Texas A&M can be a full 3 yards out on the field and not have a flag thrown.
Yeah, I think we had that in the group text. I was expecting a Woody Hayes-like moment. Or if you watch Friday Night Lights TV show, they actually had the same play where the coach made a tackle. But he should have dropped the shoulder. The sad part is that wouldn't be the strangest thing to happen at Texas A&M.
No doubt. And it's just,
What was the spread on that game?
Oh, let me see. I think A&M was within the margin of error. I think it was a 3. So I think A&M was there just because of where things have stood with both of these teams going in. And it was not good. It was not good. I want to say that margin was 3 going into this one. So A&M gets the win, and all I can say is that Auburn has quarterback issues. The only thing
was that from this year, last year, or the 3 years prior?
Pretty close. It is a consistent thing, even with a new head coach. The only thing, and now there, if you were watching this game, you might have heard a noise through the parabolic microphones. Those are the microphones that the production assistants hold that are like 9 feet wide, and they hold them so they can get all of the natural sound from the game.
Big old salad goal.
If you heard this noise, that was Peyton Thorne. That was the starting that was the starting quarterback for Auburn University. That was that strange noise that you might have heard. Is him running for his life and not knowing what to do with the football. So Peyton Thorne, apparently, and I did not see this, this is on secondhand information. Apparently, Peyton Thorne, there were times when the pocket was closing and he would legitimately flinch. He would flinch before either taking a sack or trying to do something with the football. Just to give you the numbers of the 3 quarterbacks that Auburn used yesterday. Peyton Thorne, 6 of 12, 44 yards. Robbie Ashford, running Robbie. Basically, if the first option is not there, Robbie Ashford tucks and runs. But he has the physical stature to do that. And at least that is part of his decision-making process. First option is not there, check down, run, go, I'm out the door. They waited until about 4 minutes to go in regulation, down 27-10 to go to Holden Geriner from the Benedictine School here in the state of Georgia. I ask you why. Why did you wait so late for the redshirt sophomore to be placed into this game when he is more of your skill set quarterback that you're looking for than running Robbie Ashford? I'm just asking. Peyton and Ashford
down that much. I mean, you can't be worried about burning any of the eligibility. You got 3 games to play with, and if you're going to burn a game on that few amount of plays, why not go to it earlier?
Yeah. Robbie ran for 25 yards on 8 carries. Once again, that's part of his skill set. I get that. But Peyton Thorne, 6 of 12, 44 yards on the day. Rushing, 11 carries, minus 34 yards with a long of 4.
The sacks go into that, though, too.
Sacks go into that. So sacks on the day. 2.5, 4, 5.5, 6, 7 sacks on the day.
That poor kid's going to need counseling.
Yes. So I would keep an eye on the quarterback situation at Auburn because guess what? Next week, Georgia comes to town.
Oh, so here's your question. Do you start the kid that has the skill set you want just to get him ready? Or do you hide him for that game so he doesn't end up in the same counseling sessions with the other 2 quarterbacks?
I think what you do is you start running Robbie Ashford because it's a change of pace because he's a dual threat quarterback. If that, he'll pass if the option is there, but he'll also tuck and run. And then my order would be this: Ashford, Geriner for strict passing situations, and then Peyton Thorne. It is clear that in high-powered SEC environment so far, Peyton Thorne has yet to adjust. So I would go Ashford, Geriner, Peyton Thorne. That would be my order right now.
What about it? I know a couple high schools that run this, but the 2 quarterback set. When you got one guy that can run, and you could actually use him as a dump off option.
With the Cruton. Troy over Western Kentucky. Kentucky beats Vanderbilt. Everybody beat Vandy. Vandy's now 2-3 as they chase bowl eligibility. TCU double SMU in the Battle of the Metroplex.
That would be the Iron Skillet, which I don't know if you've ever seen that trophy. Isn't as impressive. They need to get some more oil on that thing.
Yes. So Chandler Morris threw for 261 and 3. TCU gets the win. They're now up to 3-1. Scanning other games as I sit here and try to figure out what else to talk about. Maryland beat Michigan State. Michigan State's now 2-2, losing 31-9 to Maryland. Kansas.
Yeah. Don't forget to mention Georgia Southern. Make Phil happy.
Yes. Well, Phil will probably mention Georgia Southern coming up here at the end of this segment. Kansas wins at home. They're now 4-0, beating BYU 38-27. West Virginia got a win. Neil Brown still employed. 3-1.
Kansas Big 12 powerhouse.
Yes, absolutely. One of the other games for me, Old Dominion hung on to beat Texas A&M Commerce in Norfolk, Virginia by 1 point. I imagine that the tropical storm had a lot to do with the under in this game. 10-9, no points scored in the first half, all points scored in the second half. ODU beat Texas A&M Commerce 10-9. Oklahoma State, there's problems. 34-27, Iowa State wins to get to 2-2. And yeah, exactly. Georgia Tech won on the road at Wake Forest to get to 2-2. I don't know what the difference is between Houston and Sam Houston, other than a guy named Sam. Maybe the Bearcats with a K need to not have Sam because they lost by 31 to Houston, 38-7. Arizona a winner, Tulane a big winner, Wyoming held on the road. Anything else stick in your mind from the weekend?
Colorado State bounced back against Middle Tennessee. And the other one that really got me, and it was a couple years coming, but Appalachian State got Appalachian State. Wyoming with the almost the exact same play that Appalachian State did to beat Michigan.
Wow.
22-19.
Wow.
That block was just like, how many years ago was that? Like 10 years?
More than that, more like 15.
Yeah, a decade and a half, and karma finally comes back to get them. Yeah. Good on Wyoming, though, for the special teams play and not giving up. I mean, that was insane. Absolutely. I didn't get to see that game, but as I was watching other games, that highlight came on. I was just like, woo, nice.
Minute 52 to go. Ja'Cory Hawkins with the 62-yard return of the blocked field goal, and they got the 2-point conversion for the win, 22-19. As we go to break, it is time to hear from the other folks and find out what's going on in their brain. Phil is on the road. Maybe he will discuss New Mexico's win at UConn. Maybe he will discuss New Mexico State's loss on the Big Island taking on Hawaii as the late game last night. He's on the road. He's in New Mexico, and here's what he had to think. All right. And then we come back.
I'll put up a big white sheet of paper, so if I'm scrubbing through, it's easier to find.
All right. So then, all right. So I'll come back, welcome us back to break. This will be preview. We'll toss to Phil, and if Wilkie can only do the 2 o'clock, but you've got a game, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right. So I'll toss to the other thoughts coming in, and then we'll do the rest of our thing. All right. So here we go with the B in 3, 2.
Hi guys, I know I'm doing vertical video here, sorry about that. Hopefully Marty will put some buffer in here. Sorry I couldn't be there with you on the show, but we are catching an airplane for vacation for the next week. But I did watch a lot of college football on Saturday, so there's that. Here are my thoughts as we go through the first block and talk about the games that happened. Probably the 2 games of the day, well, maybe 3 of them actually. Ohio State getting that last-second win over Notre Dame. Wasn't exactly the prettiest game in the world, but I'm sure Marty was happy to see his beloved Buckeyes score at the end of the game. Shows that both teams have a little bit of work to do over the course of the season. Bad coaching mistake by Marcus Freeman and Notre Dame by only having 10 guys on the field for that last play where they got scored upon. So, yeah, you can chalk that one up to coaching a little bit. Ohio State, not the offensive juggernaut that they've been in past seasons, at least not as of right now. But it's early. We're still, 3-4 games into the season. The other 2 games that were pretty darn good and interesting was Clemson and Florida State. A pretty exciting game in Clemson's Death Valley. Again, coaching becoming the factor in this game as Dabo Swinney really made some questionable, for lack of a better way to put it, coaching decisions. Florida State did what they had to do. Jordan Travis was not spectacular, but at the end of the game when it counted, he made some plays. That touchdown pass to win the game in overtime was a work of art. Picture perfect throw. Could not have drawn that one up any better if they had tried. The other game is a game that Wilkie, of course, had some interest in. That's LSU and Arkansas. LSU pulling that one out with a field goal with, 50 seconds left to go. Pretty good win, and Arkansas played them pretty well. I'm not sure if it says that Arkansas is much improved or if LSU just isn't quite playing up to who they're playing. Either way, good game, and those games alone made it a good weekend for college football. Some other games that stood out for me, of course, my alma mater, Georgia Southern, with a huge win over Ball State. Absolutely dominated that game. Love to see that. Makes me happy. It doesn't matter to a lot of people, but it matters to me. Coach Prime coming back to earth here pretty quickly. Colorado absolutely blown out by a very good Oregon team. Not really a big surprise. Oregon's got a darn good offense. Bo Nix has been playing quarterback in college football since 2010, and they just overwhelmed the Buffaloes, who are still, they're not a bad team. Are they a national championship contender? No. Are they a playoff team? No. Are they a bowl team? Maybe. But either way, they draw eyeballs, and as we all know, in this world of college football right now, that's really all that matters. So they're going to be on TV a lot. Marty, you're going to have to live with that fact. They're a good draw. They've got everything revolves around ratings, TV ratings, when it comes to college football. Doesn't matter what the fans want, but the fans seem to want Dion. Other games that I got to see, a little bit of Alabama Ole Miss. Alabama, not great, but good enough. Jalen Milroe made some fantastic passes in that game. That touchdown pass right at the beginning of the third quarter, when he was getting drilled, was pretty damn impressive because he put the ball right on the money. A good win by Alabama. Lane Kiffin, what were you thinking on that last drive? You're down by 2 touchdowns. You have the ball with 6 minutes left, and then you just go to a 15-play drive, and then you end up not scoring. What's up with that, dude? You can do better. I'm trying to think if there's any other games that really stood out to me, and I'm not thinking of them right now. So I will wrap up my first drop of the show by saying I hope you enjoyed it. Some good games. And I'm going to toss it back to you guys at the studio, and my second block hit you probably are going to see from Albuquerque. So we're about to get on a plane, since there were a lot of people here at the airport for a Sunday afternoon really early. Talk to you later, guys. Bye.
Over here in the OSG Sports side of things, we talk football. Football. College football version here with the College Football Review every single week. But for those of you that like not just football with 2 O's, but football with a U, Futbol, there's the Soccer Down Here Network. I'm John Nelson. I host the morning show on Soccer Down Here along with Jarrett Smith, Nick Alifi, Jason Longshore. And if you're looking for the best information when it comes to the world of soccer, based in the southeastern United States, but we don't leave anything off the table. 9:05 Eastern time until 11 whenever. Sometimes we go for a while. SDH Network morning show, soccer's morning show, Monday through Friday, plus all the live events we do. It is your place and your source for soccer that is based in the Southeast, but covers everything on the world. SoccerDownHere.net, the Soccer Down Here app, available iOS and Android through our friends at Spreaker. That's like speaker with an R in the middle. Spreaker, do a search for OSG Sports. Do a search for Soccer Down Here. All the soccer content all in one place. It is the SDH Network and Soccer Down Here. Welcome back to the review. He's Marty. He's in Dallas. I'm John. I'm not. I'm here in Atlanta, here at OSG headquarters. Marty's at OSG Southwest headquarters. The week that was in the previous block. So please feel free to scrub backward and find out what we thought about the games that happened last week. Let's toss to our friends Wilkie and Phil. Phil on assignment. Wilkie definitely on assignment, and find out what they think about what's happened and what's happening with the week that was and the week that will be.
Thank you, Brother Marty, and I'm glad your Ohio State Buckeyes got it done against Notre Dame on Saturday night. What a game that was. Lots of drama, some great players on that team. Hated to see what happened to Marvin Harrison Jr. Being rolled up on and hurting his ankle, but it's that happens in football, and we'll see how Ohio State recovers from that, but I think they're going to be okay. Again, a dramatic victory by Ohio State, and I tell you, with Penn State, Ohio State, and Michigan are the best teams right now, the top 3 teams in the Big Ten, and it's going to be between those 3 as to who makes it to the championship game, and I think whoever survives that will be the Big Ten representative in the playoff. In fact, I wouldn't be shocked if the Big Ten got 2 teams in the final year of the 4-team playoff in college football. Notre Dame, I don't think this hurts them that much on the national stage or even on the national polls, but it really hurts their playoff chances, obviously, being an independent. So Notre Dame's got some impressions they need to make if they're going to make the playoff. Now, let's move on to the ACC, because I'm really glad to see Florida State and the Florida State-Clemson game rivalry matter again. What a game at Death Valley. And Florida State prevailing in that game in overtime. And Florida State now put themselves in a really good position to at least be in the national championship conversation, get a playoff berth even, and have an opportunity to win a national title. So they've got 3 really, I think, are tough games left. But of those 3, 2 of them are in Tallahassee. The Duke Blue Devils come to Tallahassee on October 21st. And then Miami comes November 11th. It's really good to see with Miami playing as well as they are, as the Hurricanes are, that rivalry, Florida State-Miami, could be back again after being kind of irrelevant for the last 4 or 5 years. Back to the level of on the national scene where it's a national showcase. That would be exciting to see. And of course, Florida State has Florida at the end of the year, this time in Gainesville. That'll be a tough one for the Seminoles to get by. We'll see whether they're if they're in the ACC championship game, then the Seminoles have a chance to perhaps impress a few folks and get into the national playoff. But Florida State's really put themselves in a position to be in the national title conversation. Now, the demise of Alabama football has been greatly exaggerated, don't you think? Especially after that second half performance against Ole Miss. Going into that game, people thought Ole Miss, this was their shot to get it done in Tuscaloosa. And maybe people thought Alabama was down, but obviously Alabama righted some wrongs, and, well, they're back to being the Crimson Tide. That offensive line really played much better. So the Tide now, really when you look at their schedule, they've got 2 games that would be of concern to Crimson Tide fan. The Tennessee game on October 21st, the 3rd Saturday in October, and then hosting LSU on November 4th. Both those tough games are in Tuscaloosa. So Alabama's just back to doing Alabama things and winning SEC titles, or at least getting themselves in a position for the title game and being in the national title conversation. The game Saturday that intrigued me the most was Washington State and Oregon State in Pullman. And of course, Wazoo ended up winning that game 38-35. But these are 2 teams in the Pac-12 that don't have a home next year. They've been bypassed by the other conferences as the Big 12 and the ACC and the other conferences. Both those conferences, Big 10, have been picking apart the Pac-12 as that league begins to dissolve. But those 2 schools are trying to keep that conference alive since nobody else wants them. And so they're going to be playing with a chip on their shoulder throughout the rest of the way, throughout the entire season, as they play other Pac-12 teams. And of course, Wazoo now has the edge over Oregon State, simply by defeating the Beavers. And so, but Wazoo's got a tough road ahead if they're going to perhaps contend for a Pac-12 title and prove that they're worthy of major college status, and that another league should look at them, and consider inviting the Cougars into bringing them into a new home. But they got 3 or 4 tough games remaining on their schedule, and 3 of them are on the road. October 7th, they play at UCLA. October 21st, they go to Oregon. They go to Eugene, Oregon to play the Ducks. The only home game that Washington State has is against Colorado. Of those 4 is against Colorado on November 17th. And then what I guess will be the final Apple Cup game in Seattle against the Washington Huskies on November 25th. But if you have Washington State and Oregon State on your schedule, Pac-12 schools, you're going to get the best. You're going to get their top effort. They are not going to be an easy out, and they've got a tremendous chip on their shoulder, and they're going to play like that as well. So it's going to be a tough one for those clubs that have to play the Cougars and the Beavers. Now let's look ahead to next week, and there's 4 games that really intrigue me. Oregon State, as I mentioned, playing with that chip on their shoulder. Well, they get a chance to play one of the top teams in the country and in the Pac-12, the Utah Utes. Southern Cal has been the gold standard out west for decades, but Utah has really made a name for themselves. Back-to-back Pac-12 champions, and they've become that second team in the Pac-12, although I would say they are the gold standard right now in the Pac-12 since they've won the league the last 2 years. But they get to go to Corvallis against a team that wants to prove itself, and a program and an athletic program that wants to prove itself that it's worthy of keeping major college status. That might be a tough road for the Utes. And then Colorado hosts Southern Cal. We'll see how Colorado bounces back after being boat raced by Oregon on Saturday. That was just an annihilation by the Ducks, but we'll see how Colorado responds against the decades-long gold standard Southern Cal Trojans. Now, Kansas is undefeated, and we're going to see how good Kansas is when they go to Austin, Texas to play the Texas Longhorns. So that's going to be a huge test for the Jayhawks. And then a game I'm really intrigued by is Notre Dame going to Durham, North Carolina to play the Duke Blue Devils. This is by far the biggest game that's happened in Duke in years. About 15 years ago, Alabama, well, I think they were number 1 in the country, but they were at the peak of their, or the heights of their program at that time in the early days of the David Cutcliffe era, and Duke went to Durham and won by several touchdowns against the Blue Devils. But Duke is playing so well right now and really put them in a position to challenge for the ACC title. And bringing Notre Dame into Duke, and perhaps the biggest game ever played in the Wallace-Wade Stadium, this is going to be a great atmosphere. I can't wait to watch this game. 2 really good quarterbacks going up against each other. And I love what Mike Elko is doing at Duke. He's got that program, and those football fans that have not had a whole lot to cheer about, with the exception of during the David Cutcliffe era, really having a whole lot to look back on. But the Blue Devils are playing well, and they get to host the Irish, and I just think that's going to be a great atmosphere, a fun game, and I really like Duke in that game. Although Notre Dame coming off the loss to Ohio State, how angry will the Irish be? But I just think Duke is so fundamentally sound, playing so well, and this would be a signature win for the Mike Elko era at Duke. All right, let's throw it to Phil.
Hey guys, it's Phil coming at you for our second segment of the day, which is the college football preview segment, where we talk about games coming from the week. First shot I did today was from the airport. Believe it or not, I'm currently sitting at the Bow and Arrow Brewery in Albuquerque, New Mexico right now. Yes, that's kind of a fake background / print wall behind me, which wanted to do that for atmosphere. But got a whole bunch of games going on. Some good, some want to talk about the early game that I find interesting. Texas and Kansas, both teams undefeated, believe it or not. Okay. Both teams undefeated, believe it or not. Coming into the game 4-0 each. I like Texas in this game, but I find it interesting, and I'm sure J-Dub is probably excited about it as well, if we can get it back on the show. Another good game, LSU and Mississippi. LSU barely escaped last week when they beat Arkansas. Ole Miss, they didn't exactly show when it came to their game against Alabama, but they tried. So you got to give them that. Some other games of interest to me. Notre Dame and Duke. Notre Dame's coming off a tough loss. They lost to Ohio State on a really stupid end to their game. That puts them 4-1 going into the game at Duke. Duke, believe it or not, is undefeated. Yeah, you heard me right. Duke is undefeated. I like this matchup, and I'm really kind of looking forward to the game. We'll see what happens, but you never know. Outside of that, I'm not going to go too deep into things here because I'm trying to read the schedule on my wife's phone while I'm trying to do this at the same time, which is not as easy as it looks. And plus, I have another beer waiting for me at the bar, so I'm going to go drink that. Until then, I'm going to go enjoy my vacation, and I'll be back next week. But in the meantime, I hope you enjoy the hits. And Wilkie tossed it to me, so good for Wilkie. That sounds kind of bad. I'm improvising here. John and Marty are going to kind of take you guys home from here. Until then, I will be back next week. Hopefully, we'll enjoy you then. And until then, have a great week, everybody, and enjoy your college football. Bye.
And J-Dub has said, let's see, so J-Dub officially, J-Dub says he's on the road, and so he will be back next week, and he can talk about...
I'll see if I can license Willie Nelson to go underneath him.
There you go. And make sure that folks get deleted on social media, I'm sure, the second that it pops up. So J-Dub wants to talk about Kansas being undefeated, so he'll do that next week here on the show. All right. Previewing the week that will be, we go through, we look at the games, we sit there and we go, oh my ish, what is going on here? And then what we do is we sit there and go, football, you know, I don't want to spend $11 gazillion on a game. What I want to do is I want to do football on a budget. And so what we do to end the show every week is Marty has his cup that has only one logo on it from Jim Tressel. And we have set a moratorium for games that the get-in price is $9 or less. And we'll see if there's any interest in Marty and his cup of going to see these games. And we will get into that coming up in short order. So
cheaper to go to than to eat at.
Yes. So nothing on Thursday worth going to. Interesting one on Friday, Utah and Oregon State, 11 versus 14 before the rankings come out. Actually, get-in price in Corvallis isn't bad right now, $44, but it's DJU hosting Utah. This one will be a fun one, 9 o'clock Friday night on F1.
I like Utah. They're fun to watch. They're a scrappy team.
I like Utah at 4-0, and maybe this is where you get Cam Rising and DJU going. Take the over. I think that's probably my first play in this one. Take the over, but I like Utah in this one as well. Saturday, noon Eastern, so it's 10 a.m. in Boulder, where 3-1 probably turns into 3-2. USC ranked number 5, and then once again, this is before the new rankings come out. USC heads to Boulder. USC's at 4-0, and the get-in price at Folsom Field is $244.
Will that maintain?
I wish for the amazing new iPhone 15 Pro. Sean.
Nice.
Do you mean this one?
I love
titanium?
no
way I could trade this.
Right now, we're going to use that as an ad for pop-up blockers.
Exactly. If anybody's got a pop-up blocker, we'll use them on the show.
I just added disable HTML5 autoplay, and so far I haven't been bitten by your boss is about to find out you're looking at the ESPN website while at work.
Exactly. So we know that USC will be favored. We don't know by how much, but once again, no Travis Hunter. It might be another long day, but it might not be as long as it was on the road at Autzen Stadium. I think that Colorado gets to 3-2. I don't think I'm wrong.
No fight for me.
Let's see. I'm sitting here scanning the early games, and I'm like,
Penn State Northwestern. That's a good game for relegation.
Yeah, it is.
As we discussed in the first block.
Legitimately, Northwestern should go to the Missouri Valley Conference. They really should. Legitimately. Bring up North Dakota State into the B1G and relegate Northwestern. I would love to see that. By the way, right there on the edge at Ryan Field, $18 get-in price. I'm still not going. I'm still not going, even though it's $18 to get into that game.
You do have the ability to get deep dish pizza.
True. That is true. Chicago, you've got Georgia and Auburn, 3:30 on CBS. Get-in price on the Plains is $153. This one could get ugly early. No disagreement from Marty on that one.
I'm just looking at it.
Like,
are you saying Kentucky's not going to be undefeated after this game?
I'm thinking so, yes.
When
Absolutely.
you buy a service like training or grooming, along with
Oh, they are terrible.
you'll earn
This
$10.
is awful. This is hideous. We need pop-up blockers like nobody's business.
I'm going to send you some links after the pod.
Kansas and Texas. Interesting one at DKR. Both teams at 4-0. Texas ranked number 3 in the B1G. Get-in price $54 at DKR. Interesting. I don't think that Kansas will win, but I think it's interesting that both teams are 4-0 and you can get in for $50. That's just me.
Shockingly affordable.
Yes, exactly. I'm sitting here scanning the 330s and I'm going Missouri.
Well, there's one that I'm just going to tell you I'm going to straight out.
Sure.
UAB Tulane.
Yeah.
Tickets as low as $2.
Nice.
At
$2.
Tulane. At
$2.
Tulane.
Golden
Stone's throw from the French Quarter.
Absolutely. That
is cheaper than parking on a non-game day almost anywhere in the country.
Nice.
And Tulane fans are great. The experience at that stadium is great. The experience in that city, the food, everything's great. You take that all day long. And I'm going back to my comment last week. I'm buying seats on either side of me, so make sure that I get both armrests.
Yeoman Stadium, that is a fantastic play. I love that idea of doing something like that in a city like that. There was a game that I had before I was so rudely interrupted by our third pop-up blocker in the block. Oh, LSU at Ole Miss, 6 o'clock on the 4-letter. Get-in price at Vaught Hemingway is $109. 12 versus 15. I think Ole Miss gets this one done. I think it's another tight one. But I think Lane Kiffin and Brian Kelly.
Oh. So is this one officially the D-Bag Bowl or
the mutually assured destruction? I think that's what folks are looking at.
That goes back to, I think it was the second week of games where I said it's like watching two kids you don't like fight in the playground. You really don't care who wins. You just want to see blood.
Yes. Notre Dame has to rebound from the game with Ohio State by going to number 18 Duke, 7:30 at Wallace Wade. Get in price $99.
I think Duke's gonna have 99 problems.
Yeah. 99 problems and the pitch ain't one. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I think they're going to get some frustration taken out on them.
South Carolina's at Tennessee, also at 7:30. Get-in price at Neyland is $166. I think Tennessee takes care of business on that one. 7:30 also. Michigan State at Iowa on NBC and Peacock at Kinnick. Tickets as low as $57. Does Brian Ferentz get his average back? Do they get a lot of points against Michigan State to boost that average back to where it needs to be?
I think it's possible, but I don't know. It'd be interesting watching a NBC/Peacock game where they're not just absolutely drooling over the home team.
Yes,
it'd be nice to hear an impartial game on that network.
All right,
not throwing shade.
None taken. Maybe if you just put on some sunglasses. All right, now it is time to wrap up the show as we always do. Football on a budget. We've set our moratorium for $9. Marty has already posted to the floor UAB and Tulane to start your Saturday at noon Eastern at Yulman Stadium in New Orleans for $2. I want my $2 is what they're saying at Tulane. And they'd get it from Marty. Marty would buy 3 tickets. Marty would probably buy 5 tickets for $10.
I buy 6, so my wife and I are comfortable.
Okay, so 6 tickets, $12 to get into Yulman Stadium for that game at noon with UAB and Tulane. So also on the board, $9. Utah State at UConn at Pratt & Whitney at noon on CBS Sports Network. That's a hard no.
I'd have to agree.
Buffalo and Akron. Infocision Stadium in Akron, Ohio, noon Eastern on the Plus. Tickets as low as $7 for some action, but you're already in New Orleans. I don't think you can claim that one, can you?
I'm taking that one just to cheer against Akron.
Okay.
They used to play Youngstown State. They got tired of getting beat by a team a division lower, and I'm just going to boo them.
It took Indiana 4 OT to beat Akron on the weekend, and they paid them $1.2 million to do it. Akron, by the way, has Indiana, by the way, is at Maryland. Get-in price in College Park is $7. I'm not.
No, don't care.
Bowling Green and Georgia Tech, 3:30 on the ACC Network. $6 to get in at Bobby Dodd. Nope, that's not happening for me because I will be in Auburn, so I can't be in 2 places at once.
I'll take the Bowling Green.
Okay.
Just because they dress like the Browns.
Okay. Also on the board, Missouri and Vandy, $9 at Vandy at 4:00 on the SEC Network. Missouri and Vandy, you going to Nashville? Gonna go hang out?
You know what? I'll go just to get some members of our podcast some swag.
There you go. $9 also for Texas State, sneaky Texas State team so far this year out of San Marcos, and Southern Miss. It's at MM Roberts in Hattiesburg, $9, 7:00 Eastern, Texas State and Southern Miss.
All right. I would take it if it was at Texas State just to get donuts from Shipley's.
Ooh.
Because, one of the bigger parts of this is the experience of going on the campus, which support your local college.
Yes, especially lower divisions.
All right. Now, I'm going to throw one game in here that is just over the $10 threshold. But Abilene Christian, North Texas, I'm buying because I'm factoring for that $13. You also have a post-game drone show.
Okay. Ooh, all right.
So I'm taking that soda and I'm taking the drone show. And I may take my niece. He's visiting from New Zealand.
There you go. Ooh, see, now the next question is the niece going to be on the show next week?
It depends how camera shy she is. So that'll be a discussion we have after we pick her up this week.
Okay. And one piece of news to wrap up before we go, we take you to Shenandoah University. Shenandoah and Juniata. Shenandoah wins 48-7. And we had a piece of history in this game. Haley Van Voorhees, a junior safety, becomes the first female non-kicker to play in an NCAA football game, entered the game toward the end of the first quarter on a 3rd and 7. On the ensuing play, she registered a QB hurry, forcing a 4th down. So Haley Van Voorhees, way to blank and go. And I hope that you continue to rack up defensive statistics for the Shenandoah University Hornets, who we may officially adopt as one of our lower division teams this year that we will continue to follow. But great piece of history. Haley Van Voorhees, the Shenandoah Hornets with their big win over Juniata. Haley Van Voorhees, a QB hurry in the first quarter. When it comes to your statistics for that particular game, and I'm going to check the statistics across the board if I could find the arrow on my computer and see what Haley also may have done in the game itself. See, we have a scoring summary, but I need a statistical summary. We have a team statistical summary. We have game leaders. Oh, box score. Here we go. So it was 42-0 at the break. So Shenandoah was cruising. They are now 2-1 on the season.
Nice.
So we have a scoring summary, but we do not have a statistical summary. Darn the luck.
Yeah, I don't think when your game's on the Ocho, I don't think they're going to give you highly detailed stats.
Nope. So let's go to the cumulative statistics here. Let's see if that helps us out any when it comes to things defensively. No, we need defense. We don't need offense because Haley Van Voorhees, I know this is tremendous radio and television here. Haley Van Voorhees on the season so far, as we continue to slide down the page, it just has the one QB hurry for one of the 12 that the team has so far this season. So in for this game, her first of the season, has the one QB hurry, one of 12 that the Shenandoah Hornets have this season. So
good on her.
Last thoughts before we go.
After this week, I'm glad that Ohio State has a bye week, because my anxiety, all of us, like all the teams we cheer for as members of OSG, had close games, except for Phil and Georgia Southern. So I'm welcoming the break, and I'm actually going to get out and go to a game next weekend. Has yet to be determined. I'm debating between the drone show and the spectacle of Jerry World.
Okay. I would anticipate that you would go for the drone show, because you could probably get more bang for your buck. But Phil will be back next week from New Mexico. J-Dub will be back from parts unknown. Wilkie, will see what Wilkie is up to, and we will
Also weight unknown.
Yes, that is true. Parts unknown, weight unknown, wearing a mask. But for everybody here at OSG, Marty, send us home.
Please like and subscribe, and visit our website, www.onlinesportsguys.com. Leave comments on the videos. That helps the algorithm.